The story of how a common painkiller, Diclofenac, led to one of the most severe ecological crises in India is a tale of unintended consequences with far-reaching impacts. Vultures, often misunderstood and underappreciated, play a critical role in maintaining the health and balance of ecosystems by scavenging on dead animals. However, the introduction of Diclofenac into veterinary medicine, combined with its widespread use, precipitated a disaster that not only decimated vulture populations but also unleashed a cascade of ecological and public health problems that continue to reverberate today. In the early 1990s, the use of Diclofenac in India began to rise, particularly after the drug became available as a cheap, generic medicine following the expiration of its patent. Farmers and veterinarians embraced the drug for its effectiveness in treating inflammation and pain in livestock. Unbeknownst to them, Diclofenac was highly toxic to vultures, leading to kidney failure and death when they consumed the flesh of treated animals. Within a decade, vulture populations across the Indian subcontinent had plummeted by more than 95%, setting off a chain of events that would affect millions of lives. Vultures in India. A historical perspective, vultures have long been an integral part of India's natural and cultural landscape. With a population that once numbered in the tens of millions, these scavengers were a common sight across the country. They played a crucial role in the ecosystem by efficiently disposing of animal carcasses, thus preventing the spread of diseases. In the absence of vultures, other scavengers like feral dogs and rats would struggle to perform this task with the same efficiency, leading to an increased risk of outbreaks of diseases such as rabies and anthrax. Culturally, vultures held a unique place in Indian society. They were revered in some traditions, and their role in the natural disposal of dead animals was seen as part of the cycle of life and death. In urban areas, vultures were often found around slaughterhouses and tanneries, where they helped keep the environment clean by consuming the remains of livestock. Before the crisis, India was home to several species of vultures, including the Indian vulture, Gyps indicus, the slender-billed vulture, Gyps tenurostrus, and the white-rumped vulture, Gyps bengalensis. These species were distributed across the country, with particularly large populations in northern and central India. The vulture's sharp decline, therefore, represented not just an ecological disaster but also the loss of a significant part of India's natural heritage. The introduction of Diclofenac was initially introduced as a human medicine in the 1970s. It quickly became popular due to its effectiveness in reducing pain and inflammation. Its transition into veterinary use was gradual, initially used by veterinarians to treat livestock for conditions like arthritis and post-surgical pain. The real surge in its use came after the drug's patent expired in the early 1990s, allowing for the production of generic versions that were much cheaper and more accessible to farmers across India. The introduction of generic Diclofenac coincided with the liberalization of India's economy, which brought about significant changes in agricultural practices. The increased affordability of Diclofenac meant that it was readily available in rural areas, where it was used extensively to treat livestock. This widespread use was initially seen as a boon to farmers, who could now afford to keep their animals healthier and more productive. However, this short-term benefit masked a growing ecological disaster. The first signs of trouble emerged in the mid-1990s when conservationists and researchers began noticing a sharp decline in vulture populations across India. Initially, the cause of the decline was a mystery. Various theories were proposed, including diseases, habitat loss, and even deliberate poisoning. However, it wasn't until the early 2000s that researchers conclusively linked the decline to Diclofenac. Studies conducted by scientists from the Bombay Natural History Society, BNHS, and the Peregrine Fund revealed that vultures were dying from visceral gout, a condition caused by kidney failure. The link to Diclofenac was confirmed when traces of the drug were found in the tissues of dead vultures. The research showed that even small amounts of Diclofenac were lethal to vultures, causing death within days of ingestion. Ecological catastrophe. The decline in vulture populations was nothing short of catastrophic. From being one of the most abundant large birds in the world, vultures in India were pushed to the brink of extinction in less than a decade. Between 1992 and 2007, the population of the white-rumped vulture, for instance, fell by more than 99%, making it one of the fastest declines ever recorded for any bird species. The Indian vulture and the slender-billed vulture suffered similar declines, with their populations dropping by over 97% during the same period. The mechanism by which diclofenac caused such rapid declines is now well understood. When vultures consume the flesh of livestock treated with diclofenac, the drug is absorbed into their bloodstream. In vultures, diclofenac interferes with the production of uric acid, leading to the accumulation of uric acid crystals in the kidneys. This condition, known as visceral gout, leads to kidney failure and, ultimately, death. The speed and scale of the vulture decline were unprecedented. In some areas, the population of vultures dropped so quickly that entire regions were left without a single breeding pair within a few years. The loss of vultures had immediate and far-reaching consequences for the environment. One of the most significant impacts was the accumulation of animal carcasses. In India, where cattle are often left to die of natural causes due to religious prohibitions against slaughter, the disposal of dead livestock is a major concern. Vultures, with their efficient scavenging habits, could reduce a cow carcass to bones within a few hours. Without vultures, carcasses began to rot in the open, leading to the proliferation of bacteria and other pathogens. The absence of vultures also led to an increase in the population of other scavengers, particularly feral dogs. Unlike vultures, which do not spread diseases to humans, feral dogs are a major vector for rabies. As the number of feral dogs increased, so did the incidence of rabies, leading to a public health crisis. Impact on public health. The decline of vultures in India did not just affect the environment. It also had severe consequences for human health. The most significant impact was the rise in rabies cases, a direct result of the increase in feral dog populations. Rabies is a deadly disease, and India already had one of the highest incidences of rabies in the world. The loss of vultures exacerbated this problem, leading to a sharp increase in the number of rabies cases. A study published in 2022 estimated that the decline in vulture populations led to an additional 500,000 human deaths between 2000 and 2005 due to rabies. The story of the catastrophic decline of vultures in India due to the widespread use of diclofenac is a profound lesson in the unintended consequences of human actions on the environment. What began as a well-intentioned effort to improve livestock health through the use of an affordable and effective painkiller ended up triggering one of the most severe ecological and public health crises of modern times. The near extinction of vultures in India had far-reaching implications beyond the immediate loss of a species. It disrupted the balance of ecosystems, led to the proliferation of feral dogs, and caused a significant increase in rabies cases, resulting in hundreds of thousands of human deaths. The economic costs of this crisis were staggering, impacting not only public health but also the livelihoods of rural communities and the cultural practices that had coexisted with vultures for centuries. The response to this crisis, including the ban on diclofenac for veterinary use and the implementation of conservation programs, has been critical in preventing the complete extinction of vultures in India. However, challenges remain, particularly in enforcing the ban and ensuring the widespread adoption of vulture-safe alternatives like meloxicam. The continued threat of other toxic NSAIDs also looms large, requiring vigilant monitoring and proactive policy measures. On a global scale, the vulture crisis in India serves as a cautionary tale of the interconnectedness of species within ecosystems and the potential for human activities to inadvertently cause widespread harm. It underscores the need for thorough environmental impact assessments before the introduction of new chemicals and drugs into the environment. Furthermore, it highlights the importance of preserving biodiversity, not only for its intrinsic value but also for the vital ecosystem services that species like vultures provide. Looking to the future, there is hope that with sustained conservation efforts, vulture populations in India can recover to a level where they once again play their crucial role in the ecosystem. The crisis has also sparked greater awareness and appreciation for these often misunderstood birds, fostering a deeper understanding of the importance of maintaining the delicate balance of nature. The lessons learned from this tragedy extend far beyond India's borders, offering valuable insights for global conservation efforts. They remind us that the health of our environment and the well-being of human societies are inextricably linked, and that protecting one requires safeguarding the other.